of rolling out a curriculum. If we get it wrong, we shall damage millions and millions of children for many years to come. And for Kenya National Union of Teachers, this is the best time for us to speak. And for avoidance of doubt, I would like to inform the Kenyan public that Kenya National Union of Teachers has been an integral part of all the reforms that have been undertaken in this country since independence, and all the reviews. And no education system or curricula has been reviewed or reformed without our concurrence. And no reform or review anywhere in the world can succeed if teachers are not on board. And no train can leave the station without the captain. The captain of the train of curriculum reform is the teacher. The Ominde Commission of 1964, we were right at the center of it. That gave birth to a sessional paper, number 10 of 1965. The Gashati report of 1976, that really focused on teacher training. We were at the center of it, and we concurred. The McKay Commission of 1981, that developed the 844, which was piloted for 4 years, and it has remained largely very successful. Kenya National Union of Teachers was part of it. The Presidential Working Party of Professor James Kamungo of 1988, we were part of it. The TIGET, the Koech Commission of 1999, we were part of it. And we have all those reports in our archives, and we refer to them. The Douglas Odhiambo Commission of 2012, we were part of it. And we were part of the National Stakeholders Conference at KICC that voted down the Douglas Odhiambo Commission report by 55 votes to 25 votes. And there has never been any other commission since that time. So what we are debating in this country is a strange phenomenon, and it would be interesting to see how a curriculum is rolled out when the implementers have not been engaged. I also wish to tell the Kenyan public that Kenya National Union of Teachers approaches all programs professionally. And curriculum reform means experts in curriculum reforms in this country must be engaged. And we can tell you for a fact that we've engaged the best curriculum experts in this country to inform our decisions and engagement with the government. And so the position we've taken is very clear. It's not about to change today. It's not about to change tomorrow. It is not about to change the other day until the right things are done, so that Kenyan children can enjoy a curriculum that is being delivered effectively by men and women, the teachers of this nation, who can interpret and deliver it appropriately in line with the Sustainable Agenda Goal number 4 of towards equitable and quality. Equitable and quality. The key thing here is equity. And we have noted with the developments and the ongoing that are in this country that we will disadvantage many children, and at the end of it all, we shall many children in this country will be destroyed. And that is why today we have summoned you so that we can set the record straight. The other parties are free to speak. They are at liberty. And we are also at liberty, together with our members, and mark it together with our members. All the teachers teaching right across the Republic of Kenya. And let all those other parties know We are an organized organization recognized by the Constitution and the laws of this country to speak on behalf of our members. And we have spoken. And that should not be ignored. It can only be ignored at the peril of the programs being undertaken. Mr. National Chairman, misinformation to the public by the Ministry of Education, the Teacher Service Commission, on the competency-based curriculum rollout. The continued arrogance, intolerance, lack of respect, and courtesy as displayed by the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission top officials lately has derailed completely the curriculum reform agenda. In spite of the wicked and brutish behavior demonstrated by officers entrusted by the government of the Republic of Kenya to steer the country to the next level of education, Kenya National Union of Teachers will continue, and mark these words, will continue supporting orderly review and reforms in the education sector. No amount of intimidation and coercion will deter the union's guests to push for order and sanity in curriculum reform process. It must be orderly and professional. Mr. National Chairman, we are asking ourselves a number of questions. One, how on earth, because we are trained teachers, and curriculum reform process is properly outlined. It is not something that you can jumble up. One step leads to the next step. And if one step fails, you cannot move to another one. And we are asking a number of questions. One, how on earth can a nation roll out a curriculum without a legitimate policy framework and necessary statutory instruments born out of public participation? And if the policy that was launched yesterday was legitimate, when was the curriculum rollout started? It started without a policy. Was it right? Definitely wrong. Where was it anchored? Those are hard questions. Two, how on earth can a curriculum be rolled out against the backdrop of uncoordinated and poorly done pilot program without a summative evaluation report to inform the rollout? A pilot must be done full circle. But you all know while you are in Kenya, full circle means the start of the academic year in January until end of the year. And it can be repeated another year and another year and another year. 844 was piloted non-stop for 4 years before it was finally rolled out in 1985. This CBC, the pilot started as an afterthought June 2017, and we were told the pilot ended October 2017, ready for rollout January 2018, without a report, without a pilot report. And I challenge you, men and women of the media, do you have the summative evaluation of the pilot report? You don't. So what is it that is being rolled out? Question number 3, how can a curriculum be rolled out via policing and interdictions of teachers who have genuinely expressed their concern? A good curriculum is debated. Teachers express their feelings. We express ours, and we are listened to. But you see, look at the purported trainings. There were no trainings. Teachers were policed into those centers. The only thing they did was to sign for allowances. And in fact, our analysis after the training is that they are worse off than before the training. And what ensued after the training, after the standoff, of course we took a position. We are a labor movement. We are not a wedding party. And we did it in the best interest of the country. And what followed was interdictions of several teachers. You cannot roll out a curriculum through intimidation and policing. It will not work. And therefore, I should tell Professor Magoha that what you are pushing is already dead on arrival. It's dead. Number 4, who are the faceless business interests and foreigners driving the reforms? There are a lot of business interests and foreigners whom you and I cannot see. And that is why the personnel at the ministry who are not advising the government correctly are victims of this process. Number 5, how on earth can the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission change the name of the teacher to a facilitator? If you look at it, that's an insult to the teaching profession, that the name has been changed from a teacher to a facilitator. The laws of this country recognizes the teacher as a teacher. That is what is in the legislation. And if that had to be changed, then it requires Parliament to review all the education statute instruments from TSC to the ministry, so that the definition of the teacher can change from being a teacher to a facilitator. A facilitator cannot teach. Is inactive, is passive. And that is by change of name alone. It is a fundamental shift in the pedagogical approach and an insult to the teaching profession. Those are some few questions. We could ask many, many more. Any attempt by misguided and pathological liars at the Ministry of Education headquarters and Teacher Service Commission Secretariat to undermine or suppress dissenting voices on curriculum reforms will be met with full force by the Kenyan teachers. It is sad, and this is just but the beginning. If you want war with us, we are prepared to go the full length. If you are ready, we are prepared. It is sad and pathetic that these officials, with no iota of shame, continue misleading the public that the curriculum reform process is well organized, systematic, and highly professional. And we saw the Cabinet Secretary, Professor Magoha. He is not even sure how many years the primary section will take and how many years the secondary section will. That is an indicator of confusion, that even the curriculum design framework is poor. And that's a very critical stage. Once you design the framework, you are able to assign each level the duration and state where each learning segment shall be domiciled. Right now, they are waiting in confusion. Even the assessment framework, it is not there, it has not been tested, nor even developed. This is confusion. They must admit. The best thing you do in any civilized society and in any progressive democracy is to admit mistakes and correct. The arrogance and intolerance manifested by the ministry and the Teacher Service Commission officials has made them to be ignorant on what exactly competency-based curriculum entails. And we can tell you competently what is being rolled out is not anywhere near competency-based curriculum. Competency-based curriculum in countries that have worked, you go and research, begins with the training of teachers. Finland has trained their teachers to minimum masters before you are allowed to teach. Singapore the same. What has been done here in Kenya? Nothing. It is so unfortunate that the ministry is in a state of being unaware of what competency-based curriculum system of education requires. The height of ignorance was demonstrated yesterday when Professor Albert Omore Magoha, a professor of medicine, is not a professor of education, professor of medicine and surgery, That is why it's giving us examples of steel parts. We don't need that in the sector. We are talking about children and developing the minds of children. That professor of medicine launched the national curriculum policy without following the due process. We're asking you a number of questions. That policy that you launched, which stakeholders discussed it, is born out of which process? And if you're launching it in May, what policy was used to roll out in January? Because the most critical stage in curriculum review cycle is policy framework, and it should be accompanied by statutory instruments from Parliament, and Parliament to debate. Has Parliament debated the curriculum in this country? It has not. And therefore, you cannot roll out. You can't even call it a policy when the highest institution that makes laws in this country has not discussed. According to Magoha, the policy is one of the fundamental documents that will anchor curriculum, competence-based curriculum, which is already in its 5th month since it was rolled out.